Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Second attempt at the voiceover. Note to self, make sure you don't have your microphone muted when you do a voiceover. So I'm repeating myself, but for you guys this is the first time. Anyway, this is my card for this week's color challenge, or color throwdown challenge. And I'm using the Sketch Ranunculus stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. And I'm starting off by stamping the images onto some Post-it tape, which just has this sticky Post-it backing across the entire piece. I love this stuff. I have had this roll for years. Love it. So I just stamped the images. It doesn't really matter what color of ink you stamp them in. I just chose a light gray because it was convenient. So I stamped the images that I wanted to use, so the two large flowers and the two leaves, onto the Post-it tape, and then trimmed it out with scissors so that I have my masks. And then I just always stick them to the side of the dispenser box so that I have them in sight so that I can use them. And then I'm using some Strathmore Ready Cut watercolor cardstock that I cut in half. It comes in a 5x7 piece, and I cut it in half, so it's 3.5 by 5 inches. And I had originally meant to make 2 cards and then ran out of time. Story of my life. So I'm only making 1 card, so ignore that second piece. And I treated the cardstock with some anti-static powder. And then I'm inking up the images and stamping them with Versamark ink. So just a slow drying sticky ink. And then I'm coating them with detail white embossing powder. So I started with the largest flower and heat embossed that until it was melted. And then I used my anti-static powder again. I'm quite liberal with it with this because I'm touching everything with my fingers, and the oils from your hands can pick up embossing powder really easily. So I keep using the anti-static powder tool. And then I masked off the largest flower with that mask I had cut at the beginning. And then I stamped the 2 smaller flowers on either side with the same ink, coated those with embossing powder, and then just went along until I was happy with everything. I cut that out of the video because it's white on white. You can't really see anything I'm doing. So you can kind of see now a little bit just how the light shines on that embossing. This is always the best part when you start coloring it in and the embossing starts to pop so you can see all the outlines. So I'm using my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers for this, and I grabbed 4 colors for the color challenge, which is red, pink, yellow, and green. So I've got carmine red, pink, yellow, and light green real brush or clean color real brush markers. And I started with the yellow, and I just laid on a bit of color onto each flower, and then I'm just pulling it out with my water brush. And then I went on and did the leaves with the light green. And then I'm going to start adding in quite a bit more color to these flowers. I wanted to kind of experiment with some color layering. So I had started with that yellow, and then I went in with that pink. And I love these flowers because you can kind of do whatever you want with them, experiment, have fun with it. And you don't have to be super perfect with it all. And they're quick and easy too because they don't have like specifically defined petals, you know, the more scribbly style, which I've mentioned in other videos. I love scribbly style things because it's just quick. So I layered on the pink, and then I added some of the red as well. Not really any rhyme or reason to any of it. I just wanted the color on here. And it's super vibrant in real life. The cameras just don't seem to be able to pick up just how vibrant the colors are with these clean color markers. They are just so gorgeous. So I colored in the branch, and I just used the red and the pink for that one. And that's when I noticed I was like, you can't, some of the embossing just kind of fades into the background because it's white on white. So I put a little bit of light blue clean color just around the very outside edges of these flowers and around the embossed branch, just a tiny little bit. And then I pulled it out with my water brush so it faded to white, just to give that little bit of definition and to make the embossing show up. I could have done gray for this, but I just thought the blue would look really pretty with these colors to make it pop a little bit. And then I added a bit of yellow to the leaves just to make them kind of go with, because everything else has got, you know, layers of colors. So I added a bit of yellow to the leaves to kind of make them go with everything else, because to me they were looking a little flat. So once that was done, couldn't resist adding some splatter. So I just scribbled the pink onto an acrylic block, and then ended up adding some of the red as well just to deepen it. And then I just grabbed one of my little Ranger paint brushes and some water and mixed all that up together till I got it the consistency and the color I wanted. So just mixed that up and then tapped it against my fingers to create splatter. And because I can never stop once I start, I needed more splatter. So this time I wanted white. So I just grabbed my Copic Opaque White and wiped off the acrylic block first, and then dabbed a little bit of that on there. And same thing, made sure my brush was clean, otherwise it would turn pink. Made sure my brush was clean, thinned it out with a little bit of water, and did the same thing. Just tapped it against my fingers to create the splatter. Concentrating the splatter more on the flowers, because unless you're looking really closely at the card, you don't see the white splatter as much, obviously, on the background. And then I decided to stick with just this set, not use any other stamps or like word die cuts or anything. So this word is from that stamp set. So I had stamped it onto some black cardstock and did the same thing. Just stamped it and embossed it with a detail white embossing powder. And then I'm just using a stitched flag die and running that through my die cut machine to cut that out. And then I wasn't paying attention because I had zoomed in so close for all the coloring. I was kind of like totally in a zone here. I started using my mini Misty because there's little tiny companion sentiments with this set, and I wanted to make sure this stamped perfectly. So the stamp says, "You are so very," and I lined it up to go right above the die cut. And you can see it didn't stamp perfectly the first time, so that's where the Misty is fabulous. So I was able to stamp it a second time so that it was perfectly inked up and stamped. And then once I've got that stamped, and I used Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink for that, I'm able to adhere the die cut sentiment onto this little panel here. So I just used my ATG adhesive for that and adhered it flat to the piece of cardstock and then wrapped over the edge. And then when I lined it up on my A2 size card, it was just slightly off. So I ended up cutting about 1/4 inch off the edge of the watercolor piece so that I had a more even border all the way around the card. I could have trimmed down the card base itself if I wanted to, but I'm still a little OCD with that. You know, sometimes I can control it, sometimes not so much. So it was easier to trim down the watercolor panel. And then I adhered that to my card base, which, like I said, is an A2, top folding A2 size card, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then I had to add some sequins, of course. This is the Simon Says Stamp Sunshine Mix. I thought, since I kind of obscured a lot of the yellow in those flowers with the layers of watercolor, I wanted to bring back a little bit of the yellow for the color challenge. So I chose these Sunshine Mix because there was all these fun little yellow sequins in the mix, and just scattered them somewhat randomly around my card here, and then adhered them into place with my Ranger Multimedium matte adhesive. And once I had them all adhered, I of course have to finish the inside. So rather than stamp a sentiment on the inside, I just thought I would use those exact same flower stamps and just ink them up with these clean color markers. These are not the greatest, like these markers are not meant for stamping, but I've done it a few times in videos and it just works. So I just inked them up with the markers and then stamped them right on the inside. I didn't bother masking or anything. The style just seemed to work for this, so it just gives it that little extra something so the inside is finished. And that finished off my card. So I will have a link below the video to my blog post. I'll have a link to the Color Throwdown Challenge if you guys want to play along, as well as like the pictures, the links to the supplies, all that info. So just check out the description box directly below the video for all the links to that good stuff. Thank you all so much for watching and subscribing, for thumbs upping, and for commenting on my videos. I read all the comments. I try to respond to as many as possible, and I really, really appreciate it. And thank you guys so much, and I will see you all very soon in the next video. Bye.